Good evening, everybody. Welcome to tonight's community forum. This is the final of 3 forums for Wenatchee's next superintendent. Tonight we will be welcoming Dr. Kory Kalahar to the stage to share a little bit about himself and tell us why he wants to be Wenatchee's next superintendent. A couple of housekeeping items as we get started, as we have done for the last 2 sessions. We are live streaming tonight, so we do ask you to please silence your cell phones and keep noise down in the audience. Thank you for the audience members who are here tonight who braved the snow and our wintry weather this evening to be here in person. This will be a moderated forum. I'll be asking Dr. Kalahar a series of 13 questions, and he'll have about 3 minutes per question to provide his answers. At the end of the forum, though, we will stop the live stream and allow the public to come forward and introduce themselves and ask any questions they may have of Dr. Kalahar at that time. I also want to remind everyone that there's an opportunity for feedback to be provided on each one of our candidates for superintendent through our online form. Those in the audience should have received a copy of our feedback form sheet. There's QR codes that you can scan for each candidate to provide your feedback on candidate strengths and weaknesses. Please fill that out before 10 a.m. tomorrow morning, so that's Tuesday, February 28th. Make sure that feedback gets in. That information goes directly to our school board and will aid the board in making the very difficult decision they have to make to choose one of these 3 candidates to be Wenatchee's next superintendent. So I'm going to end my comments there and welcome to the stage Dr. Kory Kalahar. If you want to grab your microphone, the first question that we need to ask is, what about Wenatchee are you excited about? Why do you want to be Wenatchee's next superintendent? And what qualifications do you have to help you in this role?
Excellent. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here tonight. I'm excited to share with you all of the reasons why I want to be the superintendent of the Wenatchee School District. And I'm working here in the middle. I'm seeing we've got a great divide here, so I'll kind of be wandering around in my space that I'm afforded up here. But really 2 main points that I want to share with everyone tonight. Number 1 is that I am a Wenatchee lifer and literally 4th generation Wenatchee. And my dad grew up here, my grandmother grew up here, great-grandparents grew up here, so we've been around for a little while, and I just love this community, and it's been so good to me. It was such a great place for me to grow up, for me to raise my kids, and then hopefully eventually maybe down the road some grandkids. Not that I'm in a hurry, that doesn't need to happen anytime soon, but eventually that would be awesome. And the second part of that is also just being so involved in the Wenatchee School District for the last 24 years, 16 years of which we're in a leadership capacity, and just having that as my staple behind me. Those are the things that are really driving me to want to be the superintendent of the Wenatchee School District. Now, we do have some challenges that are upon us. Right? We have some challenges that we've been talking about as a district. We know that some of that is related to the budget. We know that that is a huge concern moving forward. And I see that right now with those big decisions that are in front of us, that there's no time like the present to have someone who knows the district thoroughly, inside and out, and has been part of the community for his entire life and is not going anywhere anytime soon. So that's a little bit about my why, but I also want to share that hopefully what you know about the Kalahar name is that there is a theme of education in my background. I'll say it's in my blood. But my dad was a professor at Wenatchee Valley College of Sociology for 30 years. I'm doing my thing for the last 24 in the Wenatchee School District. And my daughter is now at Washington Elementary doing her thing, her first year teaching 1st grade. So there's a theme of education in the family. My oldest daughter said, heck no, she's not doing that. She's currently working in Confluence Health. And my son said, nope, I need to be in the Army. So he's doing that. But just to tell you a little bit about who I am and why I want to be the superintendent of the Wenatchee School District. So thank you.
Thank you, Kory. How will you develop trust? That was my fault. Technical abilities over here. How do you develop trust and maintain active engagement with students, staff, families, and other members of the community?
Excellent, excellent. Trust is huge, and a mentor and friend of mine, who is right here, Dr. Gene Sherritt, thank you very much. As he is mentoring me in a variety of capacities, in a variety of ways, he has always used the phrase, change moves at the speed of trust. And so I'm using that today, and I'm crediting the man and the master himself. But to me, trust is something that is earned, and something that is earned over a long period of time. And so when I earn the trust of the students and the staff and the community, it's over a period of time. And what I've noticed with students, when I work to earn the trust of the students, they have to authentically know that you care about them and that you care about their well-being, and you're willing to leverage those unique individual characteristics that they each have and take that to the forefront and know that you have their best interests in mind. With staff, they need to know who you are and what your work ethic is and what you bring to the table professionally, but they also need to know that you understand the work that they do, and you honor the work that they do, and that you respect the work that they do. So that's building trust with the staff. And then the community. I think the community aspect is interesting because we bring our professional selves into the community most of the time, but I think our community deserves to know, who are you outside of the role of superintendent? Who are you outside of the role as principal? What do you bring to the table? And I've been very fortunate enough to bring a Rotary side of me for the last 12 years, and that's been a great connection for me to the community. We've been able to do a lot of projects for Westside High School when I was there, but we've also been able to do a lot of projects for our community as a whole and actually give back in a variety of ways. Also from the community perspective, building trust. I've been president of the board for Together for Youth for a number of years as well, and so that's one of the ways that I build trust with that stakeholder group. So thank you.
How will you use data to lead the school district in utilizing multiple sources to measure student performance and evaluate effectiveness of programs?
All right, data. Data is huge, and it is actually, when I talk about data, a couple things that I want to clarify is there's a variety of different data, right? So when we're talking about data to inform instruction, we talk about leading indicators and we talk about lagging indicators. And so the leading indicators are those pieces of data that can inform your instruction right now, like how are students learning, how are they making progress, what are they actually doing in the classroom. Those are our common formative assessments. And that really tells you, do I need to teach differently? Do I need to reteach something? Do we need to spend more time here? Do we need to talk about interventions or academic acceleration? Lagging indicators are how the state judges our schools, right? So we teach, we take a test in March, we get the scores back in the fall. That gauges what we're doing in our classrooms and in our schools and in our buildings. Where I think the power is focusing more on those leading indicators and focusing on that for the change element. One of the things that we're focusing on in the Wenatchee School District right now is a through line when it comes to data. So we start at the top and we move down to the classroom. So this overarching vision that is created by our strategic plan, and all of the big 6 items when we think about that from the strategic plan. How do we know that our students are getting highly effective education? How do we know that they belong and they feel connected? How do we know that they're reading on grade level? Are they ready for algebra? Are they ready? Is our graduation rates moving forward, and are they having relevant learning? So those are the big 6 from the strategic plan perspective. Those data points inform the school improvement plans at the building level, and so those school improvement plans have 4 areas that they focus on as well: English language arts, mathematics, social emotional learning, and then collaboration through the PLC process. And then finally, we take that data down to the classroom level where the teachers have a variety of common formative assessments that they're using, and also student growth goals that show how much our students are learning. So that's kind of that's like the data carousel for the entire district, and how it starts at the top and moves down to the granular level in the classroom, but it speaks, there's a through line through that. So I just wanted to share that process.
As you consider the many important decisions that you will make as superintendent, what, in your opinion, should be the bottom line in decision making, and why?
Excellent. 2 things come to mind first and foremost with decision making: collaboration, number 1, and stakeholder decision making. So when we talk about stakeholder decision making, just saw some friends walk in, that's good. Hello. Stakeholder decision making. How do we intentionally look at each decision that we make, and we think of our stakeholders and the impact that it's going to have? So we think about a decision, it's a decision that impacts the students. how exactly is that going to impact each of the students, and really looking at that, what does that do for each of the students? Then taking it a step further, looking at this decision and how it impacts the staff, what exactly is happening there, what does it do to workload, what does it do to staff morale, then ultimately one step further, how does it impact our families and the community as well? So that's the kind of the stakeholder decision-making model as well, but all of those things need to be done in collaboration with the constituents who the decisions impact along the way, and that's the huge part. And I have an example. It's somewhat benign when we think of examples, but it's reality. So we're going to talk about field trips for a moment, folks. When you talk about field trips, and literally this is a meeting that I have to do, I have to create it tomorrow, but when you talk about field trips, you're talking about everybody. Students are impacted, teachers are impacted, transportation is impacted, food service is impacted, parents are impacted, the community is impacted. It's everyone. So to have anything that moves field trips, you're moving somebody's business. And so you need to have those stakeholders at the table all of the time to make sure that those decisions are being made well and being made collaboratively. The other thing, the wisdom that comes with decision making at the executive level is make sure that you are not the smartest person in the room. Make sure that you have people that are around that table who think differently than you as well, so that you can make those decisions that are truly thought out with people being the devil's advocate along the way. So it's huge. Thank you.
Okay. Number 4, keep firing them at you. Our school district is home to a variety of alternative programs, is a community with growing diversity, and has a long-standing commitment to special education. Given this, please tell us your experience and philosophy in providing a diverse educational experience.
Excellent. I am all about the diverse educational experiences in a variety of platforms and contexts, but 10 years at Westside High School showed me that a lot can be done in a small environment, leveraging students and making sure that their well-being is being attended to at all times. And I think back to a couple of the programs that we created that I would say are that diverse educational experience. And one of them was what it used to be called No Child Left Inside. Great program, super fun. How do we get students out of the classroom and have an educational experience out of doors that's where they're really working with scientists and working in the field and doing that work. It's been super impactful. We also created a program. This one we started right when I moved over to Westside, so it was 2011 and 12. We started a reading program at high school. A lot of times you don't necessarily learn the concepts of reading at the high school level. And what we found at Westside is that because of the learn at your own pace educational process there, it was very reading heavy. And so we wanted to make sure that everyone had as level a playing field as they could possibly have there to get their instruction and to do their learning. So yeah, we created a reading class, and the outcomes were very powerful there. There was a direct correlation to how well the students did on the Smarter Balance Assessment. And if the students had good attendance and they're with us for the entire year, they could grow 2 grade levels of reading in that year. So it was another example of a diverse educational experience.
Kory, you've had 16 years in administration within the Wenatchee School District. Tell us about your administrative accomplishments that have given you the most pride and satisfaction.
Excellent, yes. Well, I'm going to start with maybe not the obvious choice right there. I want to start with the strategic plan, because I know that we're on the first year of that strategic plan and we just launched it, but there was a lot of work that led up to us having that strategic plan, and we had a lot of stakeholders involved. We had community groups, we had students involved, we had parents, and that work has been so powerful for me because I've been able to be part of it through the entire process, and just being able to see it in the different iterations that it's had, and it's kind of grown into its own thing. Like, it's really, the strategic plan is its own thing. And so it's very powerful for me to see that work, and then to be able to spend last year really getting that in front of our leaders in the district, and then preparing for the implementation of that this year. It's just been really powerful. So really what I'm saying is, in 4.5 years, after we're through with this strategic plan, I'd love to come back to this group and say, look at what we did. because it's going to be amazing. But right now it is a huge accomplishment and been a huge part of the last 2.5 years of my life. But the other piece that I'm really proud of, and we'll spend some time, is the Westside High School piece. I spent 10 years there at my dream job at Westside High School, moving that school from where it was to where it is, and now under the leadership of Principal Devereaux, to see it thriving and to see it still impacting students at the level that it does, it's like my baby. I love it. It's so cool. And then also to take that, we leveraged a lot in those 10 years of really taking what Westside was in the public perception to really having it be this progressive alternative learning program that is really doing wonders for kids. We also took it to be one of the only trauma-informed certificated schools in North Central Washington. So I have to be super proud of that accomplishment. And it's been my life's work so far, thus far. So anyway, just really excited about that.
So you've spent 24 years of your career in the Wenatchee School District, and there's a lot you already know about the district, and as you know, as an educator, we're always learning new things. But based on what you know and what you've learned about the district, what do you see as our biggest challenges going forward, and how will you address those challenges?
We have some challenges, folks. Yes, we do. And there's a few that I'll touch on today. I think the one that is most in front of us right now is the budget, obviously, and the work that's going into that, and the tough decisions that this is a tough month for our school board. Holy cow! We've got scenarios on the table. We've got the superintendent search happening. There are some challenges. The great thing about challenges is there's always a light at the end of the tunnel. Right? We can always see that there is a way through this, and what I know about the Wenatchee School District is we have done hard work, and we will do hard work again, but if we do it together, and we do that collectively, and we do it with this idea that there is a hope that we're going to get to the light at the end of the tunnel, that we will get there. The budget is daunting, and the work that we're doing right now is just the preliminary decisions on the cuts that need to be made for next year. So next year becomes ground zero or year one. We also know that because the school board were able to allot some funds for us to do this over the course of 2 years, we will be doing it again next year. And so I think the challenges that we're taking on in the school district and that our superintendent will face, it's not just right now, it's over the next couple of years. Other challenges that we've heard about in the district has been a challenge with inclusion and how we support our special needs students and our students with IEPs and how we get them into the general education classroom. And there hasn't been one time that we've heard through the district that this is not the right work. It is the right work to do, but it's hard work. And when there isn't a sufficient vision and there isn't necessary supports and sustainability, and professional development is lagging, we have some problems. And so that's another area where I really feel like we need to address this challenge, and we need to do it well, and unfortunately we need to do it quickly, because we need to have those things in place for next fall. The final thing that I'd like to share with regard to challenge, this is the depressing one. No, it's not. We're getting through, this is good. The final challenge, though, I think that we need to address right now is the fact that we have 2 years until levy and bond time. 2 years, so 2025, we need to start preparing right now for our facilities committee and get that work on the ground happening. And one of the things that I am excited about is being able to make a smooth transition. With all the work that Bill is doing right now as a superintendent and the work that's happening, that's my mom, that's good. Hi, Mom. Anyway, all the work that Bill is doing in providing the guidance and everything, it could just be a smooth transition into moving forward and networking from one superintendent to another. Instead of bringing someone in from the outside, it's going to have to move here and become networked in our community and take the time to learn our district. I just would love to provide that smooth transition for our district and get the work started that needs to actually start now and do that. So yeah, those are some of the challenges.
Great. We're moving into positivity.
There's hope. Yes, there's hope. Anytime it is.
How have you provided leadership for improving student achievement? Did it make a difference, and how did you know?
Student leadership?
Yeah, how have you provided leadership for improving student achievement?
Leadership for improving student achievement. Oh my gosh. There's a variety of contexts that we can talk about that. And I will talk about what we're doing right now in the elementary schools because that is super relevant. And then I'll go back to my time at Westside. But we are leading the change to a walk to intervention model at the elementary schools that has been super powerful, and it's been a lot of work in progress. We really started working on this a year ago, January, and to watch the implementation that's happening in the classroom is super powerful. And some of the buildings have taken it on in like a global context. We really asked buildings if you can do 2 grade levels a year to start a walk to intervention model, that would be great. And what the walk to intervention model is truly, if you're thinking to yourself, Kory, what the heck are you talking about? It sounds good, but I don't know what you're talking about. The walk to intervention model is how do we take an intervention block and support each student where they are with the skills that they need to improve, or if they are at benchmark or above, what they need for acceleration. So it's really a skill by skill intervention model. And the process that we've used to get there has been extremely powerful, and the student achievement data is incredible. So we're excited to see that. We'll be sharing that with the school board later in March, actually, at our board workshop. So really excited about leveraging that. Going back further in my career, when we talk about leveraging student achievement at Westside High School, I'm super proud of the work that we did there, and just in the graduation rates alone for a small school of 300, graduating the last few years have been 120 students out of that particular program. It's a lot, and it takes a lot of work. Now granted, most of our students are kind of at that tail end of their career, so we have the ability to graduate a lot of students, but just making dynamic curriculum for students to move at their own pace has just been powerful, and it's been eye-opening for me to lead that work and to help our students engage in that success. So, yeah, thank you.
Tell us what you've done to successfully engage parents as partners in their students' education.
Love that. Let's focus on the key word there, partners, right? That is huge. How do we leverage the partnership with our parents in the educational world? And I think what I have used to leverage that the most in my career has been genuinely and authentically letting parents know that you care about their child and that you have their child's best interest in mind, and that you're willing to go all the way with that student and make sure that they can get to that finish line collectively and collaboratively. That is true engagement right there. And parents are like, this is actually going to make an impact on my student, and so why wouldn't I partner with this school or with this principal or with this teacher in making that happen? One of the things that we did at Westside that was powerful to help nurture that relationship, it started with the students, but then it ultimately had an impact on our families, and we created what we call a grad class. And that was where 1 day a week, Mondays usually, we spent a half hour not on English language arts, we spent a half hour not on math, not on elective, but focusing truly on graduation and leveraging that time to understand transcripts and understand what credits mean and how you get your credits and how do you piece all of this together to finally get that diploma. And that ended up being a great communication piece with our parents and a way for us to partner additionally with them.
What does being visible, approachable, and accessible mean to you?
It means I've turned into my dad. No, it means everything, because that, and I say that about my dad because when I was young and I would go on an errand with my dad, it would be, hey, we're gonna go, we got a quick errand, we got 2 spots to go. No, that's gonna be 2 hours with my dad because he would see people that he would know, he would talk to people, he would take the time to nurture conversations and relationships, and he would do what was necessary. And it wasn't always around his work necessarily. It might have been around softball, which was his passion, but he knew everyone, it seemed like, in the community, but making sure to take the time, like never being too busy. So what he modeled for me is really, truly who I've become at this point. And my daughter Mackenzie's back here, she's probably like, yep, that is exactly the problem. No, but I think it's everything. And I think it's everything in this particular job that I am working to get here, the superintendent. You have to have time. You're probably one of the busiest people in the district, but that doesn't mean you don't have time to have those conversations. And it doesn't mean your door isn't open for people to come and chat with you, because that's the pulse of the district. That's how you find out exactly what's going on, is those conversations that happen at Safeway, the conversations that happen in the parking lot, conversations that happen at a football game. That's where you learn what is truly happening in your district. And keeping those lines of communication open, huge. Yes?
Can you give us an example of what compass you use in your personal and professional life? What guides you as a leader?
Gosh, all right. As a leader, I would say my compass is positivity, optimism, and hope. And I know I've mentioned that before, but that really is how I guide myself, and I lead through that lens at all times, because it's powerful. And I think, or I know, at a time when we're moving into some significant challenges that I kind of outlined already, we need to be able to see the light at the end of the tunnel. We need to know that we will get through this, and it's going to be tough, and we're going to have to make tough decisions along the way. We're going to have to stick to our guns on a variety of things, but there's hope at the end of that tunnel. And I think it's a great place for us to actually move our district and to help the district know it's going to be okay. It's going to be hard, and we're going to have to make tough decisions, but it's going to be okay. The other piece, I would say, would be family as well. So everything that I do revolves around my family, which is great because I got a lot of them here, so that's awesome. But yeah, having that as my guiding compass is like, how am I a role model for my family? How am I a role model for my friends? How am I a role model for my wife and all of those things? She's mostly a role model for me, but that's okay. But yeah, how are we doing that? And what does work ethic mean in our family? And how does that translate into what I am doing each and every day so that we can have the best possible outcomes as a family and be the best version of ourselves?
Kory, what strategies would you implement to create an atmosphere of stability and continuity within the district, while at the same time initiating change for school improvement?
Wow. Stability and continuity and still change. Sounds awesome. Sounds exactly like what we need, right? What can we do with regard to stability and consistency in the district when we have all of this change that is happening to us? Okay, and that's one of the things that I've been asked a ton over the last week and a half, is like, hey, and actually today, hey, what do you want to change? Well, there isn't anything that I necessarily want to change. I don't have an agenda coming into this position, because there's going to be, I have vision and I have goal, and that strategic plan is leading me there, but there's nothing that I want to come in and just say, we need to change this right now, because change is upon us, folks. It is going to happen to us regardless of whether our superintendent comes in with an agenda to change things. There's great things happening in the school district right now. We've launched our strategic plan. We have a variety of amazing things happening. It's year 3 of collaboration in the PLC work that we're doing right now. We're not going to stop that work because of budget cuts. We're going to continue that work, but it becomes increasingly more challenging when you're doing all of that work with less, right? And to understand that next year is year 1 of working with less. So I would love to provide, as a superintendent, stability, calm, and hope for the challenging years that are in front of us, with continuing the mission and vision that the strategic plan has outlined for us. And I think that's my answer. I'm sticking to it.
Believe it or not, we've arrived at the final question for tonight's forum. You were just getting warmed up, I know. Kory, is there anything that you'd like to share with us that we have not already asked you?
Yes, and I'm trying to think of exactly what that is. I want to flash back to 2007. What were you doing in 2007? Good question. We don't have time to hear all your answers right now, but what I was doing, we're going to go back. What was Kory doing in 2007? I was starting my first year in a leadership role here at Wenatchee High School as assistant principal. I was also starting, because of this wonderful man, I was starting my superintendent's credentials, and I was starting my doctoral program in educational leadership. At the same time, concurrently, people are like, hello, not very bright, are ya? That's a lot of work. Have you seen your supervision schedule? But here's the thing, here's the reality. I needed to do that to get to where I wanted to be. So I didn't want to be an assistant principal and know what it was like to do without going to school and having that on top of it. And so that was hard work. And at the time, I think if you would have asked, like, hey, are you planning on being the superintendent? And you're working on your superintendent's credentials, right? You're 33. What are your plans? And I was like, well, no really plans, but I like to keep my options open. And I think what I'm saying with that, what my point is if the Wenatchee School District could ever benefit from my leadership qualities and my leadership style and where we are with our challenges, I think that time is now. And so I'm excited to be here. I'm really grateful to be in this spot right now. I kept telling my wife Haley, like, I'm a finalist. This is amazing. This is great work, and I'm going to be the next superintendent of the Wenatchee School District. And she's like, yep, you are. Keep thinking that way. So I just want to let you know I'm not looking for superintendent positions. I want to be the superintendent of Wenatchee School District, and I feel that I am uniquely positioned to take that role on, and I would love to do that, and I'm excited to do that. And if you didn't get a chance, on the table are some transition plans that I've created that kind of outline a little bit more about my why and who I am, talks about the transition of the first year, also outlines the challenges that I talked to you about already today, but in a little bit more detail. And then it talks about my commitments that I make to the school district in that. So you can either grab one of the hard copies, or I can do what Antonio is doing and use the QR code and snap that, and you can have it on your mobile device because there are not a lot of people that like paper anymore, so it's like you just have it at your hand. Anyway, I want to thank everybody for your time tonight. I want to thank you for being here. I want to thank you for your passion and advocacy for the Wenatchee School District, and I look forward to partnering with you in whatever capacity that will be in the coming months and years. Thank you.
Thank you, Kory. And that brings to a close tonight's forum. Thank you for those who are in attendance in our audience this evening, and also for those who are streaming it online or who will watch this video after tonight. Again, I want to remind everyone that your voice and your feedback is important to our board in this decision-making process. Again, they have the challenging role of deciding who Wenatchee's next superintendent is. Please make sure that you either grab a sheet on the way out, scan that QR code, and fill out your feedback for each one of our finalists through the online form. Or if you're viewing this online, visit our website, wenatcheeschools.org, to find that feedback form and submit your feedback on strengths and weaknesses. Also want to let everyone know that the board does intend to have a special meeting on March 1st at 3 p.m. where they will be deliberating that decision on who they will select for Wenatchee's next superintendent. So that's coming up this week. Again, thank you for your time, for coming out tonight, for giving us a slice of your day. That's going to end tonight's forum. Thanks again for coming. And for those in the audience, if you'd like to come up and meet Dr. Kalahar, shake his hand, and ask a question, you're welcome to do so at this time. Thanks again.